Good evening and welcome to Literature in 60 Minutes. My name is Zandile Pooe, and tonight we are talking to yet another awesome author, and her name is Mrs. Berenice Kohana Paulson. She is a phenomenal woman. I met her several years ago through my husband, and she has just journeyed the most interesting journey in her life. She was previously married. She went through an extended single period, but now she has since remarried, and in her journey she has written the book X8, and in English it's translated I'm Out, and it is a narrative of the post-divorce journey and how she had to work on herself, the different things that she had to do, and most importantly, she just wants to guide women who have gone through the same thing or are going through a similar experience in this particular phase in their lives, and how they can navigate that space in order to come out stronger, whole, and just healed, as women, so that they can make the impact that they are ordained by God to make in this world. So that interview is coming up right after the break.
Zoe Life Radio, the abundant life experience. There is worship in the air. Zoe Live Radio, the abundant life experience.
Welcome back, and like I mentioned earlier, tonight we are talking to Mrs. Berenice Kohana Paulson. She is the author of X8, and it's called I'm Out in English. And her book is about her story, the story of her life, a previous marriage, and she is here to share it with us tonight. Welcome, Berenice.
Thank you, Zandi. It's a pleasure to be here on your show.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've known you for a little bit now through my husband, and I actually didn't know your story, so releasing your book, I got to hear a little bit about it. I still don't have a copy of your book, even though I need to buy one. So if you would indulge me, if you would indulge me, there it is. There's your baby. But if you would indulge me and just tell us, what is the book about, essentially?
The book is about my experience, like you mentioned, and I based the book around Daniel 3, where the 3 men has been thrown into the fire. And I call it thrown because we don't ask for these things. We don't apply for these things. Life throw you in circumstances. And I've experienced a lot of burning circumstances in my life. And thing like divorce is a burning situation, and or everything that comes with divorce, like rejection, the shame, the loss, and the loss of identity. And so I based the book on my experience. The book is about the effect of divorce. It is not much of what happened in the marriage. It's more about the effect that divorce can have on a person. And I explained my experience. I tell my story, and I explain how I got out of this fire.
Okay. So essentially, you got out of this fire some time ago. What motivated you to write the book?
Yes, I got out of the fire 2008. I've been journal all my life. I love journaling, so I journal, and most of the things in the book is what I've been journaled over the years. But I knew that I will write a book. But what really drive me to do it was I experience a lot of people that goes through divorce and goes through the circumstances that I went through, the brokenness. And I've realized that this book is what I needed when I went through my experience. And there's no much journal in life. And especially divorce is a topic that people don't want to talk about. And so there's no much advice or stories about it. And this really was one of the reasons. Is it's a guideline for someone that goes through this experience. It's the guideline that I needed when I went through my experience.
Okay. How long did your marriage last for?
We were married for 3 years. 3 years. We were in a relationship for 4 years, and marriage was 3 years. One child was born out of the marriage.
Yes. You have a daughter, a beautiful one at that.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Teenager.
yes, I've seen her pictures, and I'm like, ooh, I wish. Hey, can I water them so that they can get there quickly? Can they get there quickly? But for 3 years was quite, I wouldn't say short time. So, but in that period, clearly things went wrong very quickly, and it led to the end of the marriage. Getting out of a marriage is not an overnight decision. So in those 3 years, there must have been more than one incident that would have driven you, to make that kind of decision.
Yeah.
Was abuse a part of it?
Yes. The like you say, that divorce don't happen overnight.
Yes.
And the day you walk out, it's not the day the divorce happened.
Yes.
It's only the manifestation of what's been going on.
True.
You get people that is in a marriage and they are already divorced. In many ways.
Yes.
In many ways. In financial, in sexual, in respect and everything. So walking out is not an easy step to take.
Yeah.
And especially being a mom.
Yeah.
And having one child, and I don't know. I was the first one in my family that got divorced. The first one in my family.
Sure.
So I didn't have any guideline or any reference to what I'm up to. My parents were happily married. My mom passed on, but my parents, all the years they had a happily marriage. So for me, it took really courage. But divorce is something that happened not because you want to, but because you must.
Yes.
It's not a choice that you take because you want to do it, but because I must do it.
And more especially because of your children, because I think a lot of the time, a lot of women hang on to being married or the marriage and the husband because of various reasons. Yeah. But the children are most often the primary reason why women don't leave in their marriages.
Yes.
And then financial situations could be a secondary issue.
Financial.
That makes it very difficult for people to just simply walk out. So how did you find yourself, or where were you, financially? You had a daughter. How old was she when you guys decided to separate?
She turned 3. She was 2 years, turning 3 in that year.
Oh, okay.
Financially, I was okay. And that's why I'm very strong on preaching women to get financial stable.
Yes.
Because when you are financially stable, you make better decisions.
True.
And like you mentioned, most of the people stays because of the finance.
Yes.
So I was fine. I knew that I can give my child a life, or I can put bread on the table.
Yeah.
But you get two kind of divorce. You get one where you walk out to someone. Where you walk out to someone, there's someone new.
Yes.
So you walk out to someone. That's a different kind of divorce, and I can't talk on that one. But then there's one that
it's not.
Then there's one that you walk out to no one.
Yeah.
No one. There's no third person. You know that I'm taking this step, and I don't know what the next day hold. But that one is when you hold on to God, and I hold on to God, even though we know that what God thought on divorce, we also know that He's a God with grace, and He promised that He will keep your hand. So what gave me the courage to walk out is to know that I have God. That's all that I had. That's all that I had. I have God.
Yeah, and all that you needed, because
All that I needed.
yeah, and sometimes because to be honest, sometimes we see the red flags, even though, and then the human in us just gets the better of us, even though our spirit has told us loud and clear that this is not the right decision to make. Then we make it, with our carnal natures, and then when it explodes in our faces, on our part, failure on our part or failure on our partner's part, then we still hang on to the one thing that we know to be true. And that's important because I think, like you mentioned, sometimes divorce carries shame and condemnation, and depending on which denomination or church you come from, sometimes you may not even go back to a church family that will be welcoming of your decision and of you as a person. You're going to be labeled, you're a divorcee, and God hates divorce, and all these other dramatic things. And I think it's important for you to have a strong relationship with your God before his saints, because sometimes his saints can disappoint you.
And also for me, what's also important is to know that you have taken that decision.
Yes.
It wasn't influenced by anyone. And I talk a lot to people, and then I tell them, no one can tell you when to walk out.
Yeah.
You will know. You will know it's time to walk out. And when you know that this decision is mine, it's something that I did not. Someone told me, you must leave this man. This is a decision that I take. Then you have that courage to know that I'm going to stand for my decision.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, that the condemnation, and I mentioned in the book that there was times that I felt that God has forgiven me. God has forgiven me.
Yes.
But the Christians, Christ has forgiven me, but the Christians haven't forgiven me. The Christians were still holding this thing against me. And also what you say, it depends, it goes back to your relationship.
Yes. Because
when you know who to listen to, whose opinion count, then you go on.
Yeah, you do, and we really disregard the strength of just our relationship, personal relationship with God, without needing to be in the church environment to be encouraged, but knowing and being convicted just by His word and His love, most importantly for us. But now, let's talk about your daughter. So she's very young when you leave this marriage. I'm sure it would have been very difficult for you walking out, like you said, you walked out to no one, but you had a very strong relationship with God. So now every relational decision that you make includes and involves her. So how did you find single life, being a single mom?
Oh my word. Being a single mom was my most burning situation. Being a single mom, it comes with so much guilt. And seeing your child, because she knew her father. She was 2 years old, turning 3. She knew her father. So you see your child having this lack and missing your child. So when you in that circumstance, you take your child's hurt and emotions, you also take on yourself.
Yes.
And then you find yourself feeling that I'm not a good mother. I remember one night we were already divorced, and I think it was more than 3 months. But sometimes when trauma happens in your life, and divorce is trauma, it takes time to kick in.
Yeah.
And the one night I prepared food, and I dished, and I put out 3 plates. Her plate, father's plate, my plate. And while I was busy dishing, it kicks in that we are 2 now. We are 2. And I remember that night I threw that plate on the floor. She was sitting there, and I cried in that, because it hit me. That was my moment of realizing that I'm on my own. I'm on my own. It did a lot to her. Although I tried over the years, I tried to keep the relationship. Yeah. It's not the perfect way. It's not the perfect plan of God. Yeah. But I tried to keep the relationship, and I always reminded her that her father loved her. He didn't divorce her. He divorced me.
And that's an important message, especially in a society where single parenting is overtaking, the nuclear mother-father family. We've got a lot of single mothers who are raising children on their own without even the support of the father a lot of the time. So does she still have a relationship with her father?
Yes, she still have a relationship with her father, and I'm a believer that your child needs the father. There's no way that you can say my child don't need the father. Your child needs the father, and we have this saying, and the generation make us think that you should be now father and mother.
No,
I cannot be a father. I am the mother, and God will be the best father.
Yes.
God is the perfect father. And my role is to see that while she's not old enough to pursue the relationship on their own, it is my role to see that there's a relationship between them. And to make her remember that this is not about you.
Yeah.
It's about me. You need to be whole. You need to be healed. A healed mom raised a healed child. So it starts with you to be healed. And when you're a single mom, most of the things that happen to you, you're angry. You get a lot of moms that parent from a place of anger. And now they're playing with the child. And now the absent father is not the toxic situation, but this angry mom is the toxic to the child.
And I think it's also an anomaly of a situation, or a situation where the father wants to be involved, because sometimes that is not the issue. And then you as the mom still have to mitigate and try and speak to your child and have them understand that even though he's not there, it's not her fault, and having her to understand all those things. But that's not your story. So that, I think what is encouraging in your situation is that you have a father, even though you guys are divorced, he still managed to nurture the relationship that he has with his daughter. But now, how did she feel with reading your story about the outcome of the divorce?
She was the first one that read my book. She was the first one that read the copy when it came. And what was good for me is that it was the first book that she finished. So,
as a mother, that was most important. She finished it first.
Yeah, it's the first book that she ever finished, and she actually took it very good. She came to me, and after she read the book, she gave me a hug, and she actually realized a lot of things in the book that she didn't know of. You know how a mother is, and especially a single mother, we cover our child, and a lot of things happened that she don't even know about, that I dealt with. And she found it out in the book. But I can actually say that kind of after the book, it actually created a better understanding for the way I act and the understanding of the circumstances that she finds herself in. So actually, I think it was good for her, and I'm glad that she could have had the opportunity to read my story and to read what I've been going through all along without her knowing.
Sure. And I would imagine it was less of a burden for you as a parent to have to explain yourself verbally, sitting with her and telling her this is what I'm going through, because that can sound very subjective. But I think her reading a book that you have completely detached, the emotional side of things, and you are now just objectively telling your story, what you went through, and like you said earlier, it's a guideline for other women. So there's a selflessness to it as well, that you're wanting to impart a counsel to other women who are going through the same thing, and just that perspective of it sort of helped her understand you a lot better, because sometimes I feel like
Yes.
when you have a close relationship with people, when you're trying to tell them things that you are experiencing or going through, it doesn't quite land. It might land like you're complaining, or you are, being a nuisance and over emotional. But, when they read it and they understand that it's not really necessarily you trying to get something out of them or a reaction out of them, it's you just trying to tell your story. Yeah.
Tell my story.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so now the book has been out for how long now?
February this year, the Afrikaans version came out. And I wrote in Afrikaans, and someone asked me the one time, why did I choose Afrikaans? And we know that I told her that I was thinking about it because I knew that English will have a much greater market.
Yes, true.
But Afrikaans will have a much greater impact because Afrikaans is my first language.
Yeah.
And my emotions get better explained in Afrikaans.
Yeah.
And so February the Afrikaans one came out, and then the English one in August, beginning August. It was translated, and so we have an English one now and the Afrikaans one.
Oh, that's awesome, because I agree with you there. First language is so important, even with us and indigenous languages. It's like some things get lost in translation sometimes, when you're trying to adapt them to the English language. There are things that need to be said in the right language.
I told the lady the one time that I cry in Afrikaans. I feel in Afrikaans, so it will be better for me to put it out and then get it translated.
That's good, and I like that you've gotten it translated, because I will not need a translator now to read your book.
Yeah,
I will simply read it in English. But now, your relationship with God throughout your journey. So, for instance, when you were married, I find that sometimes we journey with God depending on our emotional states, where we are in our lives.
Yes.
So when you were married, you had a troubled marriage, and obviously sometimes we draw very close to God when things are not well in our lives. And then when things start to go, exactly, we know him very well then. But when things start to, hit a smoother sailing, we start to, get a bit lax in our relationship with God. So you recently got remarried. And so how has that journey been? And looking at just take us through your journey with God when you were in a troubled marriage, in your single season, as well as now in your remarriage state, because I think you can share so much about that experience and what we need to tune into in our walk with God during different seasons of life.
Yeah. Like you said, yes, I have a relationship with God. I can almost say all my life. I gave my heart to God on high school. I think I was 16, and it's been God all my life, and in my singleness and before, and then in my marriage. Yes, I had a relationship with God. It was good. It was a bit difficult because my husband, we were not, the previous husband, we were not on the same level spiritually. And that plays strains on a marriage or on a relationship. But I've always had my relationship with God. Even when I saw that I'm going through divorce, my questions went back to God. Why am I going through a divorce? I have a relationship with you, and why are you putting me through this?
Yeah.
And so I took it every time back to him. And but I also realized along the way that it is not only God that put people together. There's a lot of other things that put people together. Like we say that what God has put together, no one must separate. It's not God that always put marriage together or that put people together. There's different things. There's sex, there's finance, there's there's so many things that puts people together. And I had to went back to the beginning. What has put us together?
Yeah.
And now I know the answer, that it was not God that has put us together. It was not God, because I was a Christian, and I can say it here that I was a Christian, and I made the mistake of we had a sexual relationship, and that placed guilt on a Christian. And then the first thing is, let us just get married. Let us just get married. So there at the beginning, it starts wrong. It starts wrong. And I had to go back to God. And then after the divorce, I was broken. I was still with God, but I was broken. You can get a Christian with a broken soul. My soul was broken and damaged, although I was Christian. But I had to go back to my soul, and God took me on a journey. For some time, I tried to hide this brokenness, because when we're broken and you look like everything is all together, you will get a way to hide it.
Yes.
You will get a way to hide it. It will either be behind your work, behind makeup, behind your children. For me, it was behind hair. I spent a lot of money on hair.
That's
because for me it was, if I have this weave, and I can show you photos.
Wow.
Because I've never been without a weave. And that was my hiding place. Because in that time, I felt that is the only place that I feel beautiful, that I feel perfect, and people would compliment, oh, you look beautiful. And I had this French, and I had this boss girls, everything to hide the brokenness in my eyes. Because I knew if people would take a closer look, they will realize that this is a broken Christian. I was a Christian, but I was broken. And so that was my hiding place, behind different kind of hairstyles. And God took me on a journey where He said, you have to take off everything. And I wrote in the book about that journey of taking off everything. It was so strong, that hiding place was so strong that I could not look myself in the mirror without hair, without a weave. At night when I have to take it off, I cried, because then I see this damaged person. And I went on this journey with God, and He told me, take off everything. And I had to go without hair. And that was the first time. It was so strong that I actually had nerves to step out of the house being myself. I would never sit with such short hair.
Wow.
Being myself and go out there. But that was the journey of transforming me, or taking me back to my origin, taking me back and take away all these things that I've put on to make it look perfect. And during that journey, I found myself. And I started to love myself the way I am. And I always went back to God. I always went back to God and tell Him that this is how I feel today. This is how the people said, no, you must put in your hair again.
Yeah.
You don't look, you look so nice when you have your hair.
Doesn't suit you. Yeah.
Yeah. And even when you have this outfit on, you feel like, no, man, I need this hair now to complement this outfit.
Sure.
I need this. and that was the journey of going back to who I am. So I always went back to my Creator, because He knows me better. He knows how I'm supposed to look. And I can say that was the best journey for me, to go back to wholeness and to the person God created me to be.
I find that so interesting, because it's always something. There's always a mask that we want to use to hide. Yours is a very interesting one. I've never had anybody who has a relationship with their hair like that. But I guess in the weave generation, we kind of see how that can be a very entrenched issue, because we are seeing it that people are using one form of a mask or another. It's either trying to look good all the time, and portray this persona of being happy. But when you look into yourself, that you are not happy, that you are broken. And I think the admission of brokenness is something that's very hard for a lot of us to do, because it's a hard one, because then it's like, how do I fix it? And I think that being monumental in and of itself, like, where do I even start? Because most of the time, the damage is not even your fault. It could have been your parents in your childhood, or, a teacher, or someone, else in your life, and you were not equipped with how to be self-aware and how to sort of get a sense of identity that is not linked to anything external. Whether it's clothing or hair or makeup, or even these days the materialness of success. I think some time ago I was talking to another author, and we were talking just about the fact that success has become so material. So it's going to be your car, or the size of your home, or the size of your bank balance. And you can hide behind all those things. But at the end of the day, if you haven't dealt with the inner man, it's going to be very difficult, and it will catch up with you. That invoice is going to come, definitely. And you're going to have to pay up. You're going to have to pay up and pay the price of reckoning with yourself and finding your true self. And sometimes if you are in a marriage situation, marriages may need to fall apart before you actually find yourself. Some things in your life will only make sense once, that wholeness, as you spoke about, has come to you.
Yes. And also for a woman, the first thing when you see your ex-husband or boyfriend with another woman, the first thing you do is finding fault in yourself. You go back to yourself and you find and you say that something is wrong with me. Maybe I don't look like her. Maybe you compare yourself with every other woman. I found myself searching and looking, who is it with now, to see how she looks, and compare myself and see that, maybe I don't look good enough. I had no self-love. My self-esteem was down, but I was in the church. I was in church, and that's why I always say that we as Christians cannot always go back to pat things with, we're gonna pray for you. We need to deal with the issues. We need to deal with the issues. We need to allow the person to open up so that we can find out what's going on. How is a soul doing?
And I think in church, depending on which church, obviously, we're not talking blanket statements here over churches. But I think it's important that churches realize that they can create a safe space for people to really unravel. Come apart, come undone, not in the face down, prostrate on the floor in church way, but in that, let's unpack, like you're saying, your soul. Where are you? Where are you broken? How do we apply the balm of Gilead? How do we apply it in a safe space where you are not going to be the subject of church gossip, because there are people who are in the ministry of counsel or counseling ministry that are gossips, so we need to find a way that really ministers to people at their very core, at the level of their soul, like you're saying, because we are spirit, soul, and body. We can really find better ways in the church. I also don't have all the answers, but I really think that if we are able to be accountable for the spirits of people, we can at the very least try to put together programs and a ministry that can really, really, Jesus says, not Jesus. When Jesus himself says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." He has given me the anointing, to heal the brokenhearted. So how do we, as the church, heal the brokenhearted?
Cater for them.
Cater for them, and in the realest way. Because sometimes I think, the church environment it can be over spiritualized and really overlook some of the very real issues that people are dealing with. There's abuse that happens in the church. I mean, there are women who've got husbands who beat them, and they come to the church together, and they look nice, and we look up to those couple goals. Meanwhile, in the evening, things are different. This woman is being battered and bruised all over. So we need to find, I don't have the answers, like I'm saying, but I think whoever's listening who is, in some kind of leadership structure can find it in them to start implementing things that deal with issues at the soul level. Sure. Yeah. Okay, so now the book has been out for some time. How has the response been to it from some of the women that you're wanting to guide? Yeah.
Overwhelming. And I people send me voice notes crying, saying that they can relate with everything, thanking me for speaking about the things that they are too scared to talk about or too ashamed to talk about. The response is really, and what I love about the reviews is everyone told me that most of the times they're telling me that this is the first book that we finished, and they get healed in the book. And they found out that I'm not the only one feeling this way. I'm not the only. There's not something wrong with me feeling this way. Yes. And that is most of the reviews. And someone told me earlier that she even went through a divorce. You don't have to go through the divorce to get something out of this book, because I also talk about different other topics, women topics, and I talk about wrong relationships, and I talk about identity, how it can be in the wrong thing, and I spoke to a young lady, and she told me that she got so much out of this book, and she thought that this book is only for divorcees. But once she started with this book, and even an older one also told me that she got from that chapter. So the review is overwhelming.
Sure. Now I can't wait to read it. Hey, I like that.
And I had my first TV interview, and I'm like, wow, God, this small little book. Look what you're doing with it. Look what you are doing with it.
I love you. I loved one of your captions on social media when you said, "Little can be so much when you put it in God's hands."
Yes,
I really loved
put it in God's hands.
Yeah, I really love that, because it's really rings true, and it's a testimony of your story.
Yeah,
you really just wanted to serve with this book. You really just wanted to help other women, and look what it's taking you, where it's taking you, and the people that you are now being introduced to, and the realm of influence that is growing in your life by virtue of this book. So now let's talk the guidance without going, extracting too much for the book. But you went through a long single season, so in those years, you must have been, gathering the wisdom for your next relationship. So tell us about that. Like, how did you prepare for this marriage, and how did you know that this is the one to get married to?
Okay, yes, I was single for a long time, 12 years.
Yeah.
And the preparation, mostly, and all the preparation was in me. It started with me. I had to be whole first. I had to be complete, love myself, be content. And I said the other day to someone on an interview also that the time my husband came, I wasn't out looking for a husband or a man. I was fine actually to stay like I am.
Yes.
I I was fine. It actually
Content
surprised
in
me.
your singleness. I love that, because the single phase can be even positioned as such a discontented phase. You know, if you're single, you're looking for a man, you're looking for marriage.
Yeah.
As women, we're always being positioned that way, that you must get married because you're single. But if you're
Yeah.
content in your
Yeah.
single days, that's
Yeah. No,
stretching.
yes. So I first had to get so content that really I was fine, and I wasn't against marriage. I've always been for marriage, and I've always knew that I want to get married one day if it's in God's plan. But I wasn't out there desperately looking for a husband. I was busy with myself. This husband found me busy on my journey,
Yes.
and not out there looking for a husband. But yeah, the most important thing is to get whole, because you cannot love someone if you can't love yourself. To get whole and to get to know yourself so much that and being so whole that nothing can shake you. Nothing can shake you, and nothing can take you back to where you were, because you know now that I'm coming from there and I'm not going back there. Yeah, so the most important thing in on this journey was to get whole, to get content, to know myself, and to know that I'm enough.
Yeah.
I'm enough, even if it's just me alone.
That's true.
I'm enough. And when he came, and I know my husband for quite a while, we knew each other for 7 years, the time he asked me. But we were friends, and there's no way that I could never imagine that he would be my husband. God ever since so, you know.
What happened there? You never saw it coming? Okay, so you were not looking at him with that eye, that, this one.
Never. I was looking, and I told him, I'm glad, and God knew that he must actually blind me from him, because then I would have been looking out and saying, no, I'm not going on a coffee, no, because I saw him completely as a friend and a brother. We have a very good communication. We are friends, and we chat, we talk, and I saw him just as a brother, and the switch came so quickly that I found myself thinking about this man now in another way. But yeah, the I personally had to get whole and to love myself and to know that I'm enough. And then I had to get a new perspective about marriage.
Yeah.
I had this perspective in the beginning that marriage is about me and the husband. And with this marriage, I had to get this perspective that marriage is about God.
Yeah.
Marriage is a ministry. It's a ministry. It belongs to God. So I had to find that, okay, this is not about me and having fun, and I captured it, my first wedding photo, I captured it, this is married on purpose. This is on purpose, because God could have kept me that way because I was fine, but I knew that this is marriage on purpose. And yeah, I have references, I asked for signs, I got my signs, I got scriptures. I got scriptures that God has put us together. And when differences come, or we know marriage is not perfect, you get your arguments, and when that comes, I go back to the scripture. And I know that I have someone to hold accountable, and that's God. I have a source that I can say, but God, you gave me this man. God, what? So, I think the most important thing is your why. Why are you getting married? Because your why is what will keep you when the problems come. And your why need to be so strong that it cannot be shaken by the world.
And I love that you're saying that, because I once had a guest on my show. His book is called Natural Chemistry and Intellectual Property Stories. And he had a very interesting story to share in the book, where he talks about a couple that was both remarried. They were both remarried, and they once around a table honestly shared to say that had they been given a chance to look back at their old marriage, they wouldn't have gotten divorced. I found that so fascinating and so interesting because being remarried, they had that story, and both of them said, had we endured or looked back on our marriage with the wisdom that we have now, we would not have gotten divorced to our previous spouses. Is that something that you have thought about, being remarried, thinking of maybe the marriage that you have now and looking at maybe some of the similarities of the challenges that you went through in your previous marriage that are possibly recurring in this one? Is there any sort of story like that or incident like that?
When I look back at the marriage that time and now, the one thing that stands out is I was not ready. I was too young.
Yes.
I was too young. That is the one thing. And the foundation was wrong. The starting is completely different.
Yes.
The starting in the first marriage and the starting in this one is wrong.
Okay.
The why was wrong. The why was wrong. But yes, also the wisdom. I didn't have this wisdom. I didn't have, because we were both too young. And I always say that marriage is between two people. Divorce is between two people. And I would not say that everything that happened, the mistakes was on him.
True.
I am not perfect. It's
like
between two people.
Accountability.
And only when you are whole and in healed and you look back, then you realize that this is the mistakes that I did. Because usually we focus on the big mistakes.
And the other person as well. Yeah, we were trying.
The big things. I always felt that I didn't do the big things. I didn't do that.
I like that. I like that. And sometimes you may have been the cause behind the big things, even though you weren't aware of it yourself.
The big things.
Yeah, exactly.
But it takes wisdom to look back and say, oh my word, this is what I did.
Yeah.
This is how I made him feel.
Yes.
And I didn't do the things that the world see, but divorce happened also between two people.
That's very true. I like that because it's assuming a sense of accountability, because a lot of the time when marriages fall apart, it's always, oh yeah, you're the one who cheated, or you're the one who was abusive, and all these things. We're not saying that people should take abuse, but sometimes there's a way, and understanding the person that you're with. There's a way that sometimes the two elements just don't mix.
They don't mix. That's all.
Mix, and you have to recognize that and be aware. But sometimes you blatantly may have been wrong. Even though, like you say, you didn't do the big things that the public would see, and there would be so much shame linked or attached to it. But sometimes you have your small little dynamites that you've been planting over the show. And when the thing explodes, it's like, but you were the one who brought the big bomb. But no, exactly. You were the one with the small bomb.
And also one of the things, and I think back that time, I think nowadays the church is more involved in early marriages. But back that time, it was like the church has pushed you to get married and then they leave you just like that. Yeah. There's no guidelines. There's no help. And we didn't have any help. I remember there was times like I saw myself that I am the spiritual person, and there was times that I literally said that I'm not going to pray for him because you don't want to go to church with me. You don't want to, and that's not wisdom. I'm not going to pray for him. I just pray for me and my child.
Yeah.
But now I know. I know. I pray less. I pray more, and I talk less.
Yeah.
That time I was talking, but now I know. I'm not even going to talk to you. I talk to God.
Yeah.
I talk to God and God will talk to you.
Yeah.
And also that wisdom comes.
Yes, exactly. And it's something that, wisdom cannot be borrowed, guys. Like it literally is something that you
experience.
It's experience, one, but also just listening to the wisdom, the all truth that is in the Holy Spirit of God. Because sometimes we go out there looking for counsel and advice for something that the Holy Spirit can guide you into all truth about.
Yes, you have it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have it. And because we like to silence and quench the Holy Spirit so much to satisfy, our flesh a lot of the time, even when he has spoken and forewarned us about issues, because we are used to ignoring and quenching him, even when we are in danger, we still quench that voice and we carry on the wrong path.
Yes.
So now you're a new Mrs. and you decided to go on a pageant mission in this new Mrs. title, and you went and did the most. You were out there in those streets in these pretty dresses, and just having so much fun. I think the part I enjoyed most about your journey was just seeing that you are having so much fun. So tell us all about your Mrs. South Africa journey.
Yeah, I had so much fun. And I always followed Mrs. South Africa, the times that I was single. And I always said to myself, the day I would get married, I will enter Mrs. South Africa. And I didn't enter Mrs. South Africa for the fame and the glam and the thing, but I had my why. And I told them that my why was, I was there to represent the woman that had once been a Mrs. and don't know where she fits in now. And I feel that it is our responsibility as Mrs. to go check up on our sister. She's been a Mrs. And I remember that the times that I looked for belonging. And after divorce, I mean you were a Mrs. And now you all of a sudden, you don't know if you're single or you don't fit in with the married people, you don't fit in with the single people, you don't fit, you are looking for belonging. Yeah. And my why was to represent a woman that don't know where she fits in now, and to create a platform where we can have a group of belonging for her who once been with us. And also as a sign of hope. For people to not give up on love, not give up on marriage, not give up on the desire to for a godly marriage. Because look at me, there were times that I thought that I would never ever get married again, and God gave me a second chance. And also for the platform. I said to the one person, my eye will never just focus on the crown. My eye was focused on the small victories, the winning, the experience, the learning and pushing myself. I was shocked to see what I can do, pushing myself out of the box.
Yeah, out of your comfort zone. Yes, out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah, putting yourself out there. But I say when the voice inside of you are so strong, you will do anything to get it out there.
Yeah.
Anything to get it out there. Because they knew when I stepped in there, I spoke single mom. I spoke divorcee. I spoke, we need to create a group, a platform for these people. The journey started on the 5th of March. They selected the top 100. And I was part of the top 100, and it was fun. We had different workshops. It was a very, very learning journey. They invest a lot in the woman, and they invest in yourself. And I believe when you are a person that empowers other women, you need to fill your cup. You need to get empowered to empower.
That's true.
And for me, it was really a learning experience. It's an experience that no one can ever take away from me. And also networking. And get to know other people. I found myself in a room sitting with phenomenal people. And I'm like, wow, look at this woman. Look at all these women. That was for me an empowering journey. Networking, learning, fun, investing in myself. I'm a person that invests a lot in other people and at service for other people.
Yes.
And for me, I felt actually good knowing that this I'm doing for myself. I'm doing even the money that I put in to do the things that I need to do, it's for me. It's for me. And that was for me a good thing in the journey to know that I did this. This is a gift to me.
Yes, and one that will pay dividends for many, many years to come, because I believe you
Yeah.
are very different. Your perspective has shifted, and your mind has been stretched
Yeah.
so much that,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the things that you will accomplish moving forward will be enriched by that
Yeah.
experience. But now,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think just as a parting note, having been divorced, there are many women who are at that crossroads, thinking about, do I stay or do I go? What would you say to that woman?
Sure. Um, the first thing I wouldn't say is to go. I will never tell someone to go. I will tell her you will know when it's time to go. You will know when it's time to go. And um, mostly when you're in an external abuse, you start with internal abuse. And the one thing I want to say to a lady is to stop the internal abuse. Stop abusing yourself and ask yourself the question, where I am now, is this the best that I can the place that I can be? What I am allowing, is this what I am supposed, is this the way I should be treated?
Yeah.
You should ask yourself questions. You should ask yourself questions. And the question should be, am I going to stay in a place where I'm not just tolerated and not celebrated? Do I love myself to know that I can walk out here and I can love myself better than you love me? I can love myself better than you love me. You need to know your worth. You will never be able to walk out if you don't know who you are. If you don't know your worth, if you don't know what you are, it starts with you. It starts with you. Once you know your worth and who you are, you will not tolerate any abuse. You will not tolerate being treated in a way that not supposed to be. So the one thing is, stop the internal abuse, start loving yourself, and then the decisions will come out from that place. When you would say to yourself, no, I deserve better.
Definitely. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Berenice, it has been an absolute honor talking to you. Like, I really appreciate your time. I love watching you on the socials. I think you are very inspirational. Well
Thank you.
done on everything that you've accomplished so far. And I put a blessing on everything that you will yet
Thank you.
accomplish moving
Thank
forward.
you.
Thank you so much for this session.
Thank you.
Now, you can tell people how to get a hold of your book and how to get a hold of you if they want to book you, because I see that you do a lot of emceeing as well as, talks at different events.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for the platform. It's so good to be here. Send my regards and my love to your husband.
Will do.
My brother. We miss him in the Western Cape. We miss his messages, his preaching. Oh, my word.
He misses the Western Cape too. He misses the Western Cape too. I know that.
Yeah. But thank you. Thank you for this platform and this opportunity. People can buy the book from me, either from me, or they can go online and they search Groep 7. Groep 7. Then they will see the book. There's different books. Then they can type in my name and they can get it. They can get me on Facebook, Berenice Kohana Paulsen, and on Instagram, Berenice Joy J. They can inbox me, Facebook me. I will answer. I'll try always to answer people. And for bookings, I courier the book all over. So if they want the book directly from me, it's a signed copy and I will courier it. Otherwise, they can buy it online, but then it's not signed.
Yes.
And it's either the Afrikaans or the English one they can buy from me. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure having you on. Next up, we are going to be signing out. Please stay tuned.
Zoe Life Radio, the abundant life experience.
Welcome back. Sure, that was such a great conversation with Miss Berenice. Her story is inspiring. Her story springs up so much hope in me first. That there is so much that you can just simply decide that this is what I am going to do with my life, and I am not going to limit myself any longer. And I deserve so much better. Therefore, I'm going to go at it with everything I've got. And I'm so moved by the advice and the guidance that she's giving to women to find themselves, to go in and do the necessary work of discovering who you are, loving who you are, healing, the broken parts of yourself so that you can be an asset to your next spouse, if that's your destiny, or, just be a person who is purposeful and about the things that they want to go about doing and accomplishing in life without feeling like you are shamed for being single. You haven't accomplished much with your life because you're not married. But that was so good and so refreshing. I hope you enjoy that, and if you are in that particular juncture in your life where you are needing to make decisions about your future, whether to stay in a marriage or to leave one, I hope that you will draw a lot of inspiration and courage from Berenice's story. But that is it from me for today. I look forward to chatting to yet another author next week. But for this week, have a fruitful week further, and may God bless you.